This week on The Agent Factory.
How could I possibly trust an AI agent with my credit card?
So what you really want are agents that you can trust with your chores, not one that can potentially mess with your bank accounts.
We're thrilled to have Prateek Dudeja joining us for a Q&A.
The shopping agent itself, which is the AI agent now doing the transaction, obviously that is why we are here today.
Hi everyone, welcome to The Agent Factory, the podcast that goes beyond the hype and dives into building production-ready AI agents. I'm Shir and Ivan.
And I'm Ivan Nardini. So welcome to the show. So today we're going to talk about everyday life application with agents.
You know, Ivan, just a few days ago, I was trying to get tickets for a concert, and they were going on a sale at a specific time. I thought, what if I could just tell an AI agent to do it for me? I would say, buy 2 tickets as soon as they're available, under $200 in a section without blind spots.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Shir. You can potentially already do this with agents. So what has stopped you?
That's a great question. How could I possibly trust an AI agent with my credit card details? What if it misunderstands me and buy 200 tickets instead of 2? Or worse, a lifetime supply of rubber duckies? I mean, my kid might like it, but we already have too many of those. The potential for mess here is high. I think this crisis of trust is why agentic commerce hasn't really taken off yet, and that's what we're tackling today.
I see your point, Shir. So what you really want are agents that you can trust with your chores, not one that can potentially mess with your bank accounts. The good news is that you're not alone, and to address this need, we are very excited to, introduce this new open protocol, the agent payment protocols. By the end of this episode, you will have a better understanding of what are the challenges that we are getting with AI agents to operate with today's payment infrastructure, and how a role-based architecture and verifiable credentials can create a secure framework for AI-driven transactions.
And to help us get the inside information, we're thrilled to have Prateek Dudeja, a product manager from the agent payment team, joining us for a Q&A.
And as always, everything we are going to share today will be available in the episode notes. And if you like what we are going to talk about and you want to help us, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friends. But now, let's get started.
Welcome to the factory floor. Let's start diving into agent payments.
Yeah, sure. And I want to start from your story about the rubber ducks because it perfectly, fits with the problem. So existing payment protocols assume that a user, is directly interacting with a trusted interface, like a browser. But when an agent makes a payment, it raises questions about the current system they can't answer.
Right. We have 3 challenges here. The first is authorization. How do you prove the user actually gave the agent permission for this specific purchase and not just a vague idea? The second one is agent error. What protects you if the agent hallucinates and buys tickets for LA instead of San Francisco? And the third one is accountability. If something goes wrong, who's responsible? Without a clear answer to that, it's just a digital, my agent did it, and good luck with arguing with that.
And this is where the agent payment protocols comes in. It's an open protocol to create a common secure language for agents to conduct commerce. It's not going to replace the existing payment systems. It's just adding a trust agentic layer on top of them using, some proven technologies.
Trust layer. I like the sound of that, but I can also hear our audience thinking, oh, great, another protocol. We've already got MCP for API interactions and A2A for multi-agent communication. So how does this new agent payment protocol relate to those? Does it replace them or just add to the pile?
That's a great question. And I can understand that at least at the beginning it can be a little bit confusing, but it makes totally sense once you understand the responsibilities. So everyone knows that MCP helps your agent to communicate with data and APIs, and at the same time, A2A helps your agent to communicate with other agents. The agent protocols is going to help your agents to communicate with merchants and payments partners.
You got me very curious. So how do we do that?
So the first key concept that we need to understand is the role-based ecosystem. So everything is based on this concept of separation of concern. So your agent don't have to do everything. As you can see in the diagram on the screen, there are very key players that we need to explain.
Yeah, I can see we have the shopping agent. This is the agent I want to build, the one which is great at finding the right products with a great price. And we also have the merchant endpoint. That's the API of the seller's side where we buy the tickets or the groceries.
Yes, and then we have the credential provider. This is the key to security, essentially acting as a secure digital wallet that manages the user payment methods. It handles payment credential data securely and selects the optimal payment methods for each transaction, ensuring that the shopping agent that you just built never directly access to raw payment credentials. Next up is the merchant payment processor, MPP. This entity is responsible for constructing the final authorization message destined for the payment networks. And of course, at the end, we have the networks and the issuers. They play a pivotal role in verifying transactions that happen along the interactions.
I see. So the separation of roles here is critical. It means my shopping agent can be an expert at finding the best concert tickets, but it doesn't need to be PCI compliant because it doesn't access any credit card numbers or personally identifiable information. It delegates the payment to the specialized credential provider, which talks to the merchant payment processor. That's the secure way to do it. But even how do these different roles trust each other?
Yeah, and that brings us to the central innovation of agent protocols, the verifiable credential, or VCs. These are basically protocolized, cryptographically signed digital receipts that prove what was agreed upon.
Exactly. So there are three main types of verifiable credentials. First, we have the cart mandate, which is the one available today with this initial launch. This is for when the human is present scenario. The user reviews the final cart, and their approval creates a cryptographically signed mandate. No takebacks. But what if the human is not present?
Yeah, and this is where the intent mandate comes in. This is critical for the human no presence scenario, like your concert ticket mission. So the user signs an intent, like I want to buy tickets under a certain price, and not a final cart. This gives the agent the authority to act autonomously, but with guardrails.
I see. So we are talking about interaction between the agent and the human for filling the card info and making the payment. But where does the payment actually come from?
And that's precisely why the payment mandate has been introduced. So this is the third and last separate credential providers that the payment network and banks with clear visibility into transactions. So explicitly signaling the involvement of an AI agent and whether the interaction was human present or human not present.
At this point, we know we have these several roles and verifiable credentials. Let's take the human presence scenario, for example. How can these new concepts change a payment system to become really agentic?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Shir. And this is where the fundamental shifts happen. So the protocol works by establishing what the team calls a contractual conversational model. So we were moving beyond the traditional simple API calls into a flow that's built on verifiable proof.
A contractual conversation. I like the sound of that. It sounds robust. So what does that conversation look like? Let's walk through it, maybe using my concert ticket example.
Yeah, that's perfect. So everything starts from this step 0, like the delegation of task. That's just you telling your agent, hey, I want to buy those 2 concert tickets.
Easy enough. My agent now has a mission. What's next?
Yeah, then we have this step 1, which is discovery and negotiation. So your shopping agent contacts the merchant's endpoint to prepare the cart. This is just a add-to-cart action. It can also handle things like, loyalty programs or special offer for you.
Okay, so my agent has found the tickets. What's next?
Next, it's time to finalize the cart. And we need a way to pay for those tickets, right? So in step 2, the agent reaches out to my authorized credential provider so that I can see my payment methods and select the one that I want. Notice that the AI agent only gets a reference to credential or the last 4 digits. It will never see the actual credential themselves. So everything is kept secure.
Now we have the items and the payment method. We can present the final card to the user. This is the critical part we talked about, the user authorization. How does that work in the flow?
That's step 4 and 5, so authorization with mandates. This is where those verifiable credentials we mentioned before come into play. So since you are right there at the screen in this human present scenario, the agent shows you the finalized card, and you then cryptographically sign this card mandate. That signature is the verifiable proof of your intents and authorization for the payment.
So that signed card mandate is the contract in this conversation. It's the non-reputable, yes, I want this exact thing.
Correct. And just to be complete, if you weren't present, like, there was an autonomous grocery shopper, you will have pre-signed an intent mandate. But for this floor, we have our signed card mandate.
I see. So the shopping agent is now armed with my signed mandate, and in step 6, it send it to the merchant. Because this is a verifiable credential, the merchant can now trust that this mandate is in fact coming from a human and not from an hallucinating agent. How do we move on with the payment then?
Yeah, and this is where step 7 comes. Like the merchant sends the signed payment information to the merchant payments processor, the MPP.
I see. And then if I understand correctly from this chart, in steps 8 and 9, this merchant payment processor takes all this information and reaches out to the credential provider to get the actual payment method to use. So only the merchant payment processor will access those credentials. They are the only ones that are PCI compliant, in addition to the credential provider.
Correct. And finally, in step 10 and 11, the MPP can now construct the final transaction authorization message, which will allow the network ensure visibility that the AI agent is involved, and it will also allow them to challenge the user in the transaction flow. Once they authorize, the transaction is finally complete.
Yay, we have the full flow now. But it all hinges on trust, right? How does my agent know to trust the merchant's endpoint, and how does the merchant trust my agent?
Yeah, that's the final and I think the most important piece here. So the flow of trust. So the protocol outlines a pragmatic two-phase approach. In the short term, this trust is established through manual curated allow list of approved agents and providers.
Okay, so we have some kind of a walled garden approach to start. That makes sense for the beginning for security reasons.
Yeah, right. But in the long term, the plan is to use more advanced and open protocols that leverage established web standard, like the one that we know and we trust. For example, HTTPS, DNS ownership, and MTLS. So these will assert the identities of both agents and user.
That's a great overview. So this contractual conversation is really a series of verifiable handshakes between all these specialized roles, starting with my signed mandate.
You got it. And that's what make this protocol agentic, but at the same time secure.
Okay, so that was the high-level view. To dive deeper, we brought in an expert who is here to tell us how to stop our agents from accidentally buying a boat. Please welcome Prateek Dudeja, a product manager from the Agent Payment Protocol team. Welcome, Prateek.
Thank you. Thank you, Shir. Thank you, Ivan. Nice to be here, and I will make sure you're only buying the boats you really want to buy.
So, Prateek, thank you for joining us. We're curious, what brought you to start working on this payments protocol? Why not just use MCP or A2A for agent payments?
Yeah, I think before I answer that question, let's just think a little bit about how the internet even works today, right? Like, so you have browsers which open all these websites. You use HTTPS and SSL as common paradigms or protocols that make that happen. Now, if you want to sign in, you need more authentication, stronger authentication. If you want to make a payment, that's an even higher level of authentication, right? So the trust keeps going up as you make sort of these high trust, low reversibility actions. It's the same thing here. A2A and MCP are baseline protocols. They allow you to make a communication channel happen between two AI agents or between AI agents and other tools, right? It's not sufficient for a payments-grade trust or security to exist. So essentially what we have done with AP2 is bring the payments-grade security and trust on top of A2A and MCP. So now you can be very, very certain that the payment is truly coming from a human and super high trust.
I see.
That's a very great example, by the way. So now we know the why, right? We introduce agent payments, but the protocol relies on a lot of an existing payment system. So probably this protocol will grow as fast as we will able to collaborate with these players. So how do you see this getting off to the ground? How will our agents find trusted partners to interact with?
So I think we are waiting for some standards to evolve there. But in the short term, our expectation is that shopping agents will have sort of these decentralized registries of trust, and they will discover merchants based on those. So, for example, a particular shopping agent could have a registry of 5 million merchants that it trusts out of the gate. And it's able to find those merchants when a prompt comes through. It's able to reason over the prompt, discover a merchant that has the ability to fulfill that prompt. I also want to add that a lot of the capabilities that we have in the protocol, right, the credentials provider, the merchant endpoint, the merchant payment processor, all of these exist today. All we are saying is that there's an elevated level of job that they now need to do compared to what they've done in the past. The only new role is the shopping agent itself, which is the AI agent now doing the transaction. Obviously, that is why we are here today, right? Other than that, the roles all exist. There's a higher trust required, a different or an elevated job that needs to be done. But everyone's very familiar with those other roles in the payments industry today.
I see. So let's talk about my biggest concern is that when things actually go wrong, the accountability part is huge for payments and even more for merchants' confidence. Can you give us a quick example? Say my agent buys blue shoes instead of teal shoes, but I see the cart and click approve anyway. How does the protocol help figure out who's responsible?
That's an excellent question. And we spent a lot of time thinking about exactly this to make sure merchants feel very, very high confidence in what we are doing here. So if you think about what we call the human present scenario, right, where you're available to prompt the user or prompt the agent and ask for, say, blue shoes versus teal, the merchant responds back with a product SKU. You look at it. And so when you look at it and you say approve, we sign what we call a cart mandate. So you biometrically sign it, which means it is tamper-proof, it's cryptographically encrypted and cannot be modified by anybody. This is what we send to the merchant. So if you turn around tomorrow and says, oops, I didn't want to buy that, I wanted to buy something else, it's actually on you. The merchant actually has evidence that you saw the exact product before it was purchased. And we do similar things even on the human not present side. So if you gave conditions to a merchant, say you said, oh, I really like that dress. It's not available in red today. Can you buy it for me when it becomes available in red? In that context also, the agent's able to take your conditions and have you sign what we call an intent mandate, again, a cryptographical verifiable credential, and share that with the merchant. As long as the AI agent and the merchant adhere to the conditions that you laid out, the transaction can go through. Anything outside of those conditions, the transaction won't happen. So as long as it's within those conditions, and if you disagree with that later, that's on you.
So you need to be careful with what you wish for.
Yeah. It's like clicking buy on a website, right? When you click buy on a website today, you know that is the thing that will show up and you are liable to pay for that thing. It's the same thing. You're looking at a thing. If you click buy, it's on you. If the merchant makes a mistake, it's on them.
Okay, Pratik. So at this point, I think our listener, they understood how the protocol works. But what's real, apart from the theory?
Yeah, we have already built a couple of reference implementations that we've put out. Hopefully, we can look at one right now. So you'll see a user having a conversation in the video with a shopping agent as it soon plays out. So here you're seeing sort of a user going to a shopping agent and saying, I want to buy such and such thing. The shopping agent has a allow list registry of merchants that it works with. We already talked about that. It's able to pull out specific products that may be relevant to you in this context. So it's doing the find products call right now, responding back with some products that may make sense, right? Now, the user may have more back and forth. Hey, I'm looking for a performance thing. I'm looking for something else. And you may have more back and forth that happens while the product is being finalized. At this point, now the credential provider gets involved. The user is saying, what wallet do you want to use? The user has responded back with PayPal. So the user shipping address is picked from PayPal. User's payment methods are picked from PayPal as well. And the final card is being presented to the user. You're seeing the shipping address show up, the payment methods, MasterCard, American Express showed up there. The user just has to pick the payment method that makes sense to them. And then the shopping agent goes and does the signing of the mandates. This is the cart mandate that we talked about earlier and creating the verified payment credential. The initiate payment call goes to the merchant PSP, leading to the final purchase essentially happening. So the user's payment method is debited and the purchase goes through. We also had a moment here where we showed the challenge show up, where the user was actually challenged by their bank to say, hey, provide an OTP. The challenge also happened there.
I see. I just have a follow-up question on this. Like the demo that we just showed, I see that is built on using ADK, using the ADK web app. Is the protocol already compatible with other framework like LangGraph or CrewAI?
Yes, the protocol is compatible with every framework. It does not matter how you've built the AI agents, whether you use Google's ADK or any other protocol out there. As long as you have an AI agent that's ready to communicate over the A2A or the MCP protocols, you should be able to use AP2.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's a cool demo. You got me excited about this. I want to build my own agent payment system. How do I get started?
Well, like I said, first let's go to the GitHub repo, see the different roles that are available there. So if you're a merchant, you may want to start building a merchant agent. Mm-hmm. If you're a credentials provider, you may want to start building a credentials provider agent, like a digital wallet of some kind. You could be a PSP or a fintech company, right? Like which wants to process payments on behalf of others. You may want to then build the PSP agent. So see your role. On the GitHub repo, we have agent sample cards for each of these. Mm-hmm. So you can look at the one that makes sense to you and you can get started with that. That is the first thing. As we sort of build this out, like I said, we'll have the SDK come out soon. The SDK will allow you to embed this capability very directly in agents that already exist within your enterprise today. So that should be the other thing that you can look forward to.
Nice.
I mean, I love, playing these role games. So I mean, it sounds like, this protocol is open to everyone. Like everyone that is involved with payments, they can find us a place and play with it. It's so exciting. So I have just one last question for you, Pratik. Like looking ahead, what's the most exciting next thing that you are working on with the agent payments?
Well, there is a whole host of scenarios that we are looking forward to, right? Like the one that we talk about often is a sort of a new generation of e-commerce built on agent commerce, which is this dynamic negotiation happening in real time. So today, if you go to a website, right, and you look for a dress, say the red dress, right, and it's not available in the color you want it in, you may decide to drop off from the website. For the merchant, that's a lost sale. For a user, it's dissatisfying because now I have to go to some other website and try to find that thing, right? Everybody loses. If you consider a scenario where I have an agent as a user and I say, hey, just buy that thing for me in red. I need it by tomorrow for a party. I'm willing to pay 30% more for it. Imagine a merchant's agent being able to access this kind of information. It's absolute gold, right? Like merchants have never had this kind of data before. So you get this sort of data. And if your agent's able to make some sort of an exception happen, say a production exception, say somebody else refunded the red dress. And so you can sort of use that and give that to me. And scenarios like this, you are now able to convert a sale that would not have happened before. So within certain guardrails defined by the merchant and defined by the user, the agents are interacting with each other and making these scenarios happen where what would have otherwise been a lost sale is now a 30% extra markup for you, which is brilliant for the user, brilliant for the merchant, and an excellent outcome for everybody in the ecosystem.
Yeah. Cool. Anything to get me that right dress. I like it. Well, Pratik, this has been incredibly insightful. Thank you so much for joining us and helping us all build slightly more responsible agents.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here.
And that's all for today. So again, huge thanks to our guest Pratik for giving a great explanation of how agent payments works and how you can use this new protocol to build a more secure and trust future for your AI-driven commerce.
It's such an important piece of the puzzle for building agents that can do truly useful work in the real world. You can find links to all the resources in the show notes. Thanks for tuning into the Agent Factory. Pratik, do you want to power down with us?
Let's do it.
I'm Shir and Ivan.
I'm Ivan Nardini.
I'm Pratik.
Powering down.